In this video, I'll be showing you how to replace a engine crankshaft position sensor on a Chevrolet Equinox. It is located underneath the intake manifold on the back side of the engine. Let's get started. We're going to move along to our charge pipe right next to the engine and locate the 10mm mounting bolt underneath this hose right here. We're going to remove that. And set it aside. Now I'm going to move along to the corner of my engine cover to locate this single T30 screw. We're going to remove that. We're going to also remove our oil cap. Now we're going to pull up the engine cover up and out of the way. Set it aside. Now we're going to do the same with this foam insulation. Just pull it away from the corners and set it aside. Now I'm going to go on to the other end of the charge pipe. On the throttle body, I'm going to find the retaining spring here. I'm going to disengage it using a flat blade screwdriver. Just going to go under it and just pry up. Once it's fully pulled out, as you can see, just pull it up and out and set it aside. Now we're going to move along to the intake manifold. Locate this metal bracket holding this wire harness down. It is held in by a single 10mm bolt. We're going to go ahead and remove that. Set the bolt aside and put the bracket to the side as well. Now we have access to this harness and its two connectors. On both ends you'll find white tabs. Pull these out and remove the harness. And set them aside. I'm going to move up the harness here, locate this clip, and remove it using a trim tool. And set the whole harness aside. We're going to make our way underneath the intake manifold, locate our purge valve solenoid right here. Going to disengage it using a pick on this tab right here and slide it out. So I'm going to insert the tab on top, going to press down, and work it free. Now we're going to remove the connections. We're going to start with this evap hose connection right here. On top of these two ears, there is going to be a green tab. We're going to pull that away using a pick. As you can see now, our clip is disengaged. We can slide the evap hose out. Now we're going to move on to our electrical connector right here. On top there is a white tab. Just push that back and slide it out. Just push back. I'm going to remove the connector. I'm going to slide these out the way. Now for our last evap hose. On the bottom there are two green connectors. Push those up and slide the evap vent valve out. So I push those up. Clip's disengaged. I can slide it out and set it aside. Now let's go ahead and remove our intake manifold. On the bottom there are two bolts, one on this corner and one on this corner. We're going to start by removing those. There are two 10mm. These stay in the intake manifold during removal. As you can see, they are held in. They cannot be removed. Now for the other bolt. Now that those two are loosened, I'm going to locate the middle of the intake manifold. In here we have one more 10mm bolt. Slide my tool in and break it free. Now I'm going to move back on top of the intake manifold. We have one more bolt here, another one on the other side in here. We'll start off with the other one. Now these are recessed in the intake so you can't see them, but we could easily see this one. Now for our last bolt. Now we can remove our intake manifold from the vehicle. Just going to work it back and forth to break the seal. Just pull it up and out of the vehicle. Now that our intake manifold is out of the way, let's remove our starter. We have two electrical connections, harness here, and the bracket right here. Since our connector is giving us a hard time, I'm going to disengage it using my pick. So I'm going to slide it in, pry the tab up, and slide the connector out. Inspect for any corrosion or damage. Set it aside. Using a 13mm socket, I'm going to disengage the ground strap from the starter, held by this nut. Set the strap aside. Moving down along the starter, I'm going to locate this bracket here. There's a harness attached to it, being held up by a plastic clip. I'm going to remove it using a trim tool. Set the clip aside. On the starter side of the bracket, there is a 13mm bolt holding it down. Now on the engine side, we're going to remove a 15mm bolt right here. Now remove the bracket and the bolt and set it aside. Now on the starter, we are going to locate two 15mm fasteners, a nut on top and a bolt on the bottom. We're going to start off by removing the nut. To access the bottom one, I'll be using an extension. Here's the bolt. Now let's pull the starter up and out of the vehicle. Now with the starter out of the way, we can locate our crankshaft position sensor down here. Just follow this wire, and you'll find it tucked away in the engine block. I'm going to undo this plastic clip with a trim tool. I'll move it out of the way. Now I'm going to remove the 10mm bolt. Here's our bolt. Now let's go ahead and remove our electrical connector. There's a red tab on the sensor. I'm going to undo it using a pick. Unfortunately, our red tab broke due to heat and age, but that's okay because there's another tab holding the connector down. So for now, we're just going to wiggle it free and remove it from the engine. So I have my fingers over the sensor, just working it back and forth. If it's stuck, you could use a flat blade screwdriver or some pliers to work it free. All right, I'm just working it back and forth while pulling. And it slid out. So again, our red tab broke, but there's another one up here. Just push it down and remove the sensor. So on top, I'm pushing down. I'm just gonna slide it out. Inspect for any corrosion or damage. And there it is. Now I'm gonna clean my mating surface with some brake cleaner and a clean rag. Now to install our sensor. Just going to slide it in place. Make sure the mounting location points towards the right side of the vehicle. Slide it in place. Once it's seated in the hole, just push in until the bottom's out. Now I'm going to reinstall my 10mm bolt. If it does not align, just turn the sensor a bit until it does. Just going to hand thread it on for now. I'm going to use my socket and extension to gain better access. As you can see, now it's snug. Now we're going to go ahead and torque this down to 89 inch-pounds. Now I'm going to resecure our electrical connector. Just slide it in place. Once it's slid in place, just push down. Make sure you hear that click and make sure it's secure. Now we're going to move along the harness to re-secure the plastic clip right here. Goes down here. Goes down there. Just going to push it in, make sure it's secure. Now I'm going to prep our starter mating surface with a wire brush. Now I'm going to clean the area with some brake cleaner and a rag. Now to install our starter, I'm going to slide it in place. Going to get the wire harness out the way. Just align the holes on the block and push in our starter. I'm going to hand thread on our hardware while holding the starter up. Now I'm going to snug them down. Now we're going to torque both of these down to 43 foot-pounds. Now for our starter bracket. Going to hand thread on our bolts. Longer one goes on the engine side. As you can see, hand thread on our bolt and align a bracket. Make sure the harness is out of the way before you do this. Now for the bolt on the starter side. So I started the threads on. I'm just going to snug it down. Now we're going to torque the engine side bolt to 43 foot-pounds. Now I'm going to torque my starter side bolt to 16 foot-pounds. This one is a 13 millimeter. All other ones were 15s. Now on this harness there is a plastic clip. Going to re-secure it in the bracket in that hole. Just going to line it up and push down. Now I'm going to reinstall my starter electrical connector. Going to slide it in, push in, and push the red tab in as well. Make sure it's secure. Now we're going to move on to our ground strap. Slide it over on the stud, push all the way down. Now I'm going to hand thread on our nut. Now I'm going to torque this down to 106 inch-pounds using a 13 millimeter. Here we have our intake manifold. We're going to take a look at our exhaust gasket, make sure it's not broken or torn. If it is, now is a good time to replace it. For now, I'm just going to wipe it down. Yeah, that looks good. Now before we reinstall it on the vehicle, I'm going to reinstall our evap solenoid right here. There's a tab on the intake manifold, just slide it over. Make sure it's fully secured. I'm going to slide our evap hose over again, push all the way in, and push down on the green tab. Now we're ready to reinstall. Now let's go ahead and install our intake manifold. I'm going to slide it in place, make sure the hose is out of the way, align it with the tabs on the engine head, and I'm going to hand thread on our corner bolts. Now I'm going to use a socket and extension to hand thread on my other bolts. There's one on top right here. I'm going to slide my socket and extension in and just hand thread them on. Now there's another one recessed right here in the middle. So just slide it in. And for our other one along the top in this side of the intake manifold. Now to torque these down, there's a specific sequence showing on the screen right now. I'm going to start off in the middle one, move on to the left top one, then to the right top one. Then we're going to go off to the bottom corner one right here, next to the solenoid, and then to the one closest to the high pressure fuel pump on the opposite corner. Now for our last bolt. Now we're going to reconnect our evap solenoid. I'm going to grab my harness right here. Slide it in place first. Just going to push down and push this white tab in. Once this is secure, we're going to reinstall our evap hose. Do the same. Slide it over. Once it's fully slid over, push down on the green tab. And make sure it is secure. Now that our intake manifold is reinstalled, we can move on to our connections up here. We have one next to the throttle body right here. I'm going to take our harness, slide it over, push it in, and push the white tab in. There's another one on the throttle body itself. Same thing. Take the connector, push it in, and push the white tab in. Now there's a great clip here that goes on the bracket on the manifold. Gonna go ahead and reinstall that as well. Now for our bracket bolt right here, I'm gonna line the bracket and hand thread on our 10mm bolt. Now just snug it down. Now for our charge pipe, gonna undo the clip, make sure it's fully out, push all the way down and push in on the clamp. Make sure it's fully seated and make sure it's fully secured. Now I'm going to slide over my engine cover foam, fully push down on all the corners, make sure it's fully seated. And now for our engine cover. There's two rubber grommets that sit on these tabs on the engine, so make sure they're fully secured when you install them. Now with that installed, I'm going to reinstall my oil cap. Now I'm going to install my T30 Torx engine bolt. Goes down in here, and just snug this down. Now we're going to follow along on the charge pipe to install our mounting bolt right here, which is a 10mm. Now go ahead and snug this down. And that completes our install. Once you're finished, go ahead and start the vehicle, take it for a road test, ensure you don't have a check engine light. If you do, follow manufacturer guidelines on how to relearn the crankshaft sensor. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.